Good morning, everybody, and welcome to session 2 of the Pharmacy Guild Student Summit. I'd like to introduce you to our panel of experts today for our community pharmacy careers discussion. Andrew Patterson is going to be our facilitator who will be asking the questions. But if any of you have questions that you would like to ask, please pop them into the question panel on the side and we can reference those towards the end. But I'll hand over to you now, Andrew. Thank you.
Thanks, Mel. What an awesome topic, and good morning, everyone. Absolute ripper of a topic and a smoking hot panel, I'd have to say, this morning of, as I look across from top to bottom, we have Pharmacy of the Year winners, we have the young guns of pharmacy, we have interns of the year. So, if there are any questions, as Mel said, do not be shy in coming forward. The panel for this morning is why community pharmacy is a smart career choice and the opportunities that await you. And wow, I guess what a time to be entering community pharmacy, a time like no other. Society, in terms of the need for experienced, calm, professional coordinators of care in all of our communities has never been greater. We have a panel of people this morning that have, stepped up, might infer that they weren't already on lofty pedestals. But they've absolutely stepped up in their communities, in the work that they're doing. In terms of pharmacy, I'd say an exciting time. We had Trent Toomey on opening this morning. I've seen him in my lounge room over breakfast on today's shows. And so pharmacy is absolutely front and center. I think Chris Freeman was on the news last night trying to explain why you don't take horse medicine for COVID. So there's some natural selection stuff, but we might talk about that later. I wouldn't have thought people needed to be told that, but welcome to community pharmacy. So I'll get the panel to introduce themselves. I'll start at up the top here. We've got Sarah Hazel from Forbes. So Sarah, quick intro. Tell us a bit about yourself and the journey that you're on just at the moment in your pharmacies in Forbes.
Yeah, morning everyone. So my name's Sarah. I'm a community pharmacist in Forbes, which is in Central West New South Wales. I've been a pharmacist for about 20 years now and a pharmacy owner for about 14 of those years. I'm very passionate about community pharmacy, but especially rural pharmacy and the important role that we play in the healthcare of our community. Interestingly, I've only ever had one job. So I started working at Flannery's Pharmacy as a first-year pharmacy student, and I am still there and loving it. And I absolutely love being a pharmacist. There's no other career for me.
Nice one. And Luke?
Yeah, so I went to University of Sydney and ended up back in Wagga Wagga, where I'm owner and prior to managing pharmacist of South City Pharmacy in Wagga. I attended the University of Sydney and then travelled around a fair bit after my degree, stayed at places like the Central Coast, managed the Thredbo Village Pharmacy up on the ski resort there, went back to Sydney before ending up back in Wagga. We got Pharmacy of the Year in 2018. Now I'm on a representative of the Pharmacy Guild of New South Wales with Catherine. And we both sit on the Scope of Practice board where we're trying to, advance scope of practice for pharmacies in New South Wales. I'm extremely happy with my career choice as a pharmacist, and we're mentoring a lot of young people up and coming through the industry. I think the future is really bright for us.
Yeah, look at you with your lifestyle thing with Thredbo, half your luck. Kat, last time I saw you was in the fin review lockdown as a close contact, so it's nice to see you out of isolation. Tell us a bit about yourself. I might bounce back. You're on mute. Angus.
Guys, so good morning everyone. My name's Angus. I'm an early career pharmacist from Dubbo in Central West New South Wales. I completed my internship last year in Canberra at Coolman Court Pharmacy. I was fortunate enough to win the MIMS Guild Intern of the Year for 2020, which was awesome. Very passionate about community pharmacy, obviously still very young in my career and evolving, but really passionate about community pharmacy and in particularly men's health. And yeah, studied at the University of Canberra, and really looking forward to today's session.
Yeah, cool. Christy Lee, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yep. So I graduated from Charles Sturt University in Orange, and I've worked in a range of pharmacies across Central West New South Wales, and I had the pleasure of working at Sarah's Pharmacy in Forbes. So it was, yeah, absolutely amazing experience to work out in Forbes. I'm the former Vice President of the PSA's New South Wales branch, and I've held a number of advisory board positions and currently sit on the University of Technology Sydney board. I am a country girl at heart, but I did make the move to Sydney, which a lot of my friends from university said, oh, I remember when you said you're never going to move to Sydney, but I did. And so I'm now the manager of the Pharmacy Programs and Services Division at Pharmacy Platform. So I do work in an office now, so something I never thought I would do. Well, my house is my office at the moment, but I do still maintain my registration by working locum shifts at my local community pharmacy. And the thing I'm most passionate about is the implementation of services in community pharmacy. And yeah, I'm in my dream job. I love it.
Nice one. And Catherine, homeschooling's all sorted there?
Absolutely. It's a nice reprieve from running pharmacies in southwest Sydney today, though. So I'm very happy to be here. So I'm Catherine Bronga. I finished university in 2004. I was super president and NAPSA vice president during that time. And then I left the politics for a little while to focus on businesses. So I got into partnership out in southwest Sydney for one pharmacy, and then I've established two other pharmacies, one in South Sydney and another one in Broadway, which is really close to Sydney University and UTS. I sat on the UTS advisory board for a while when we established the new pharmacy school there, which I think is fabulous. So hi to the UTS students. And I also worked at Sydney University as a mentor for the business, as a student business tutoring as well. So hi to Sydney University students as well. And look, really very happy to be here. Community pharmacy is an absolutely amazing profession, and it's never been more stressful than at the moment operating a pharmacy in southwest Sydney. But it's not just about the pharmacists or the owners out there, it's about the whole workforce and the way that we've been able to come together and just support that community, both in keeping them safe, but as well as starting this vaccination rollout. And, you know, what a place to be and to be able to make a difference. So so excited to be here and talk to the future generation who will be following that. Thanks,
so I
Andrew.
might take you, have a look at sort of career journeys, and I'll pick up on Luke initially. I mean, it sounds like he bummed around for a few years and went anywhere he could do for the lifestyle. Is that one of the benefits of being a pharmacist? I mean, a pharmacist. Is that something that you would advise?
Yeah, look,
coming to the gig.
Look, I actually, to be perfectly honest, I fell into pharmacy. My family's are doctors, and I said, oh, I'll do pharmacy to go and do medicine eventually. But I got to the end of university and just figured that study wasn't for me. So I traveled around a bit, and the great thing with pharmacy is you can literally put your finger on a map of Australia and go wherever you want and get a job, which I did. And then actually I still wasn't sure whether it was for me, so I went back and studied journalism at university and did some brief stints for sports channels, which I'm quite passionate about. Fox Sports News, did some videography at the Australian Open Golf, things like that, which seems like the dream job. And then I actually figured out that pharmacy was actually it was fantastic, and I ended up doing a full 180 and going back into the industry. So look, I'm probably one of those ones that has dipped my, said, oh, pharmacy wasn't for me, and I tried something else and I did it. And it's not until you leave you realize what a fantastic profession it is, and how lucky we are to be in an industry like this.
And I guess building on that, Sarah, rural pharmacy, I mean, you are often the only healthcare practitioner available, what advice would you give to students and to young pharmacists on, going west?
Yeah, I think it's so important for every pharmacy student to do a rural stint, just to see what the difference is between and the similarities, I suppose, between rural, regional, and metropolitan pharmacies. So, for example, in my community, we've got a massive shortage of doctors, and in the 20 years that I've been working in the pharmacy, this hasn't at all changed. It's still an issue, and some patients can wait up to 2 months to see their GP. And in that instance, the pharmacist, the frontline healthcare worker, becomes the first port of call for all the patient's healthcare needs. And I love that part of rural pharmacy. I think it's so very rewarding. We see patients come in with all different queries and concerns. We act as a triage system, I suppose. We have a really good working relationship with other healthcare professionals in the community, and we can refer, we can treat, and I think it just adds. It really gives you a lot of job satisfaction having that role in the community.
Have we seen, and this is a question to the panel, have we seen those collaborative care models? Historically there's turf wars, and I read stuff about the AMA and I think they stoush, but on the ground generally there's positive collaborative relationships. Have you seen in your communities that sort of evolving, particularly with a lot of doctors closing and doing telehealth in the last 18 months? Have we seen kind of I don't know, I won't say the rise of the pharmacist, but those collaborative models becoming even more entrenched in our communities? Kat, from your perspective, we'll start.
Yeah,
We'll go urban, then go rural.
Look, absolutely. We've seen those collaborative models change and evolve. So in our pharmacies, we have pharmacists who are diabetes educators, and we essentially run care plans and employ exercise physiologists and dietitians to run those care plans. So they're all referred through by GPs. Lots of local GPs refer in. And we also run a fairly established sleep apnea business that have GPs referring in with sleep specialists as well. And it's interesting to see how those models have changed and progressed, because you can't get 20 diabetics into the pharmacy to run a group session at the moment. So we've been able to take a lot of those online, which has been really great, and continue those relationships with the doctors. Sleep apnea, we've been able to utilise online, but also video in many different languages. We have CALD communities out in southwest Sydney, so Arabic, Assyrian, do videos of those and send it to people's homes, as well as do the telehealth consults and then deliver those sleep apnea machines to them for diagnostics. And it's been really interesting. I mean, one of the great outcomes out of doing that and being pushed to do that actually means that we have less problems come back with the diagnostics. So we've got our mistakes down to zero, which from a business perspective, that's excellent. It means you can see more patients and you're utilising the really expensive pieces of technology going out. So there's a lot less wastage in the system. So how good's that, being forced to use the technology and get some great gains for the business in doing so.
Yeah, necessity is the mother of invention. And Angus, in Dubbo, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, I agree with what Catherine was saying. I think, pharmacists are frontline professionals, and it's probably never been more recognised than now that we are in frontline, and that's from a variety of all health professionals. I think are realising more than not now just the role that pharmacists are doing. And I think GPs and other health professionals have been great in the local community and sort of liaising to put patients' needs and optimising patient care first and foremost. Obviously out here, similar to what Sarah was saying with 2 months wait for GPs, it's similar to that in Dubbo as well. Maybe not quite 2 months, but it's very difficult. So the pharmacist has to sort of play a bit more of a troubleshooting and triaging sort of role to in that primary healthcare role to determine what the patient's needs are. And obviously there are patients that come into the pharmacy that you realise, look, they need to be straight into the GP and that sort of thing, and developing a bit of a relationship with GPs in your local network to sort of identify who are the at-need people to get in. And we've been lucky that there's been a number of GPs develop a good relationship. And on top of that, I sort of also run a bit of a men's health program out here. And through that, I've developed quite a good relationship with physios and neurologists and other local GPs through it. And we've all developed sort of a bit of a trusted health network. And yeah, it's been really good.
Yeah, cool. And I think the phrase may have come out of Luke's mouth, of the full scope of practice, and it's been such a focus in the last, I'll say, 5 years as a keen industry observer, and seeing the evolution of the role, seeing the new programs come in. The bushfires started it, where pharmacy kind of was there to help. COVID has only crystallised this, so it's interesting seeing this full scope of practice and where it can take us in the future, which, you know, back to my earlier comments of, can there be a more exciting time to come into community pharmacy because of the multi-pathways we're going forward. You know, Catherine's spoken about sleep, and Sarah's sort of community engagement plans, Angus, men's health. Luke's still, his brain's still skiing somewhere, I think, half his life. So just the multi-pathways for young career pharmacists. Christy Lee, I might lob to you. You were once upon a time, probably still are, a rising star at pharmacy. I think you were nominated. Your role has you working, supporting pharmacists in the implementation of multiple programs. Tell us a bit about where you've come from and where you see the opportunities in the sector.
Yeah, so when I was straight out of uni, I thought to have a successful career in community pharmacy, the end point is to be an owner. And the other option was to be a hospital pharmacist, and I had no interest whatsoever in being a hospital pharmacist. Hats off to those people that do want to do that, but my passion is community pharmacy. The turning point for me was attending APP conference when I was an intern with my preceptor. So I had no idea of what happens at an APP conference. I thought there'd be like 20 pharmacists just hanging out, having a chat, and there was thousands of people there, and I was absolutely blown away by the passion of the speakers. And I thought to myself, I want to be on that stage one day. So while pharmacists receive great clinical education from universities, what I found was that they do lack that leadership and management skills. And so for me, I thought, okay, if I want to be on that stage one day, what do I need to do to get there? And I also set myself a little goal that in order to get there, it's baby steps. And the first step for me was I want to be a pharmacist in charge. So I sat down, identified the skills that I needed early on to get myself there. So I did a graduate diploma of leadership and management. And I also attended lots of workshops and things by the Guild, and jumped online, spoke to lots of pharmacists that have done it and got some experience there. But I do want to point out that I didn't do all of this at once. So it's not something you just go do it and then next minute I was PIC magically. It took me a couple of years to do that diploma while I was working. And so it's a slow process. Another turning point for me was nominating myself for the branch committee for PSA. And again, if I wasn't at an APP and having a conversation with other pharmacists, I never would have nominated myself. So there was talks that, yeah, ECPs need to get on these committees. And I thought, oh, no way, I don't have enough experience. I don't want to nominate, like I'm never going to get it. But yeah, that support from other pharmacists at that APP conference was, no, you can do it. Let's do it. And if you don't get it, who cares? Then try again next time. So I did. And I do like being called the rising star of pharmacy. Like, sounds exciting, and I'm an extrovert, so I like being center of attention. So those people that have worked with me, they probably would agree with that. But I don't think I'm any better than any of the other early career pharmacists out there. They might not be as vocal as me, and not as extroverted to go to conferences and things like that and shout how great they are, unlike me. But yeah, I really want to point out that the students on this summit, you guys are the rising stars of pharmacy. So not me, you guys are the rising stars, and it doesn't matter if you're more introverted or extroverted. Yeah, you have the potential to make a difference in this industry. And yeah, I just really want you guys to know that each and every one of you can be a rising star, even if you don't get the title. So I don't know if that answered your question, Andrew, but that's sort of been my career progression. And I think community pharmacy is really unique, that it gives you those skills to be able to do different things. So I don't work in a community pharmacy anymore day to day. I work in an office, and for me, I found that in my role currently, I have the ability to make change in the industry by supporting pharmacies and pharmacists to be engaged in their role and to be able to deliver services to their patients. So that's what I'm really passionate about, is services. And in this role, I can use those skills that I learned in community pharmacy to help others to be better.
Yeah, cool. And I might let the record show when you said I'm a raging extrovert, Sarah nodded knowingly. Obviously, haven't worked with you, but you know, on advice from, I won't pick up on that. I do want to pick up on that kind of, I guess, extending yourself, right? That, you know, we come out of a community pharmacy degree, and when I say we, I don't mean me, I didn't do one, but you come out as a specialist in medicines, and on day one, you're leading people. You are suddenly confronted with, you know, governmental stuff and a variety of other stuff. I know Kat's pharmacies have been nominated for awards, Luke and Sarah. Awards, where do they sit, you know, in terms of a community pharmacy, accolades, awards, those kind of things? It's good to strive for those things, you know, being on branch committees of both, you know, from NAPSA all the way through to guilds and PSAs and other, you know, I know primary health networks. Where do those kind of things sit? Does it help drive your business forward? Kat, I know you've been you're very active in those things. What advice would you give to young pharmacists?
Look, I think it's really important that community pharmacy has an absolute voice. And I think, you know, the awards are really nice. It was very nice, particularly for the staff, to get Pharmacy of the Year. And I think I've been, you know, young pharmacist, and I'm quite proud. I'm a fellow of the PSA quite recently. So I'm quite proud I was young enough to be young pharmacist and now considered old enough to be a fellow. So that was, for me, that was the light. And I think they're great, you know, and they make you feel good. But I think what's really important is the advocacy roles for community pharmacy, and really shouting from the rooftop how community pharmacy can make a really big difference to the healthcare of all Australians. And you can't be in that unless you're sitting on those boards or putting your hand up to be part of those boards or to be part of those groups to be able to do it. Where I've got great satisfaction, I forgot to say I was part of the negotiating committee for the 7 CPA on a national level, and I'm currently vice president of the of New South Wales Pharmacy Guild. But what that's allowed me to do is have roles in government areas, right? And really, what I always have found so interesting when you sit on those boards is there's just a bit of feedback coming through. I'm not sure. Yeah. What I found so interesting about those boards is how much other healthcare professionals, doctors and politicians either position community pharmacy or don't truly understand what we do on a day-to-day basis. And what I found is really just bringing it back to the patient and the conversations of how we make those interactions every day, the differences that we make in terms of the health outcomes, the economic benefits for both state and federal governments. And then, you know, one of the things I think community pharmacy is completely under remunerated for what we do. But I guess one of the things that I was really going to say to a lot of the young pharmacists out there, and really interesting talking to Christy, is that us as leaders on this panel and across the board have a responsibility to advocate for a lot of the young students that they see that are very good. And conversations like those that were had with Christy to say, you know what, you can do it. Especially for women, but also for men and women alike, giving advice to men and women alike to say, you know, I see something in you, and I think that given the opportunity, you'll do great things, and you need a voice in those areas. And we need to not just mentor, but we need to advocate those young people coming through, because they're going to design the you know, our industry in the future. And the other piece of advice that I wanted to say to, you know, all the students listening today is get into ownership early. I mean, really early in your career. You know, too many times I see really good young pharmacists, often women, not always, working for men owners, right? And they're actually running the joint. And you should just be owning that pharmacy, for goodness sakes. I mean, you might have to put your hand in your pocket, but good on you. You're going to take a risk and you're going to have a great benefit later on in life. And the sooner you can get established with yourself and have that passive income coming through, the sooner you can take upon some of these advocacy roles, right, in your career, if that's what you want to do. So establish yourself, take the risk. You know, you might fall a couple of times, but you'll start running sooner or later. And just have the guts to do it, I think is the big thing. And don't worry if you make a mistake. Just keep going.
And I think that's a cracking piece of advice in terms of mindset. You know, we often talk a bit about having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset of, you know what, you know, to any young pharmacist, you're going to make mistakes, right? That's okay. Right? Mistakes are all right. We're all going to make them. You make them every day. Don't think that perfection is delivered on day one. In terms of, you know, I might try to Luke for a second. I know in your pharmacy in Wagga, you've created a bit of a nursery for some young talent coming through, new services, new programs, you know, changing that patient sort of path to health. Tell us a bit about the stuff you've done out there, and particularly to help people build expertise in new areas. Or Don. All right. Sounds like you're muted. Sounds like you're not going to be unmuted. So, as a slick and professional operation that we're running here, I'm going to go to Angus. Angus is a guild intern. I mean, I guess similar kind of point to Luke is you've now moved from intern of the year, best of the best, Top Gun, and now moved into just kind of running the pharmacy. Tell us a bit about that journey, and what advice would you give to people as to how you can sort of, you know, challenge yourself, and to Catherine's point, and then sort of extend yourself to take a leadership role in a community pharmacy, pretty young in life?
Yeah, definitely. So I think for me, it's been probably a bit of a daunting transition initially, coming into moving home from Canberra as an intern and then straight into registered pharmacist and sort of taking on a more managerial side of role. Obviously, I'm doing it with my father, so there's plenty of support. And I was lucky enough in my intern year, I was sort of pretty clear in where I wanted to go and what I want to achieve in my first few years as a pharmacist. So I tried to surround myself with people that would give me the best advice to make that happen as soon as possible. And that's the best piece of advice I can give. Like the mentors and preceptors that I had while I was down in Canberra were incredible in supporting me to develop to where I am. And obviously there's still so much to learn, but definitely the managerial side and all the little things that come with, I suppose, running a business and that sort of thing that you don't think about at uni. You don't think about in your intern year. It's not until you're sort of out in the wide world as an owner, as Catherine was talking to, where all these sort of things that you don't actually realise happen behind the scenes to run a business. While I was at uni, I did do extra subjects in small business management. I just thought it was an avenue that I knew I wanted to go into. And I think if you are someone that's in your later years at uni and you think, you know, ownership or business management is something that you're interested in, I definitely recommend doing that, because I think it'll set yourself up well. Obviously out here, I'm just trying to do, in my intern year, I was trying to do as many different things and learn as many different scopes of practice so I could offer as many services to the community when I got home in as quick a way as possible, I suppose. And that one of those was the men's health program that I was able to offer, but also just seeing how the day-to-day functions of a busy community pharmacy in Canberra ran, and learn from that and try and implement some of those processes at home. But yeah, it's definitely been stepping stones, but the best advice I can give is really try and find a mentor and a preceptor that will give you plenty of support, and through that I think you'll get and learn a lot quickly.
Yeah, sounds sensible. Luke, did you ever work out your IT issues, or no? All right. Can you sign? Do you need, Angus is a young fella, do you need the young fella to step in and we'll plow on smoothly? Now,
I'm working on it, Luke. I don't know what's happened, but I'll work on it. Sorry, Andrew.
It's like a classic power play. We've just had enough of Luke. We've just silenced him. Now, at this point in time, I would remind everyone that Angus's advice is cracking there, and that here are some of the best brains in the industry. So do not be shy in lobby a question, you don't have to put your hand up, you don't have to say it, you can type it, be one of those keyboard warriors. So, so life's pretty simple. Sarah, advice for young pharmacists? I mean, what, as an owner, someone that is always looking for young pharmacists, and you know, what advice would you give?
Was that me? Sorry, Andrew.
Hey, do you answer to Sarah?
Yes, sorry, I didn't hear. Sorry.
Okay, guys, come in tight. We got to get this back together. No, we've got people who've come to hear you guys speak. You know, stop watching Bluey. Stop watching. You know. Yeah, you, Sarah.
Sorry, everyone. Yeah, so my pharmacy, so Flannery's and Life Pharmacy, we're part of the Life Pharmacy group, and we've had a scholarship cadetship program for many, many years now. And actually, I was the first Life Pharmacy group, we were called Country Farm back then, cadet. So I'm really passionate about mentoring young pharmacists, and I think it's so important for pharmacists to find for pharmacy students to find the pharmacy that is right for them, pharmacy that focuses on professional services, somewhere where you feel inspired, nurtured, and challenged to learn and be the very best pharmacist that you can possibly be. I reiterate what Andrew was saying, is that I see a lot of young pharmacists, you know, concerned about maybe making errors and making mistakes, but that's, you know, that is just part of the course, and we learn from them. And, you know, I'm still making mistakes today, but it's what we learn from them, and it's how we pick ourselves up afterwards that's so important. And I just really do encourage everyone to find that pharmacy that is the right fit for them, and find that mentor that will guide you through your career.
Sound advice. Now, if we spend the last sort of 5-10 minutes talking about the future and the direction, I mean,
I'm back to Addo, by the way.
Hey.
Oh,
I'm back.
look. Oh, you've joined us again, have you, buddy? Thank you for coming.
Admin had silenced me. I must have said something wrong.
I was going to
Sorry,
say,
Luke.
yeah. Well, let the record show that we don't take recalcitrant behaviour on this panel. And if you do want to try and flex your muscles, you will be shut down. You will be silenced, my friend. So unsilencing you, I mean, that question, I think it was a great question. Obviously, you, Mel mustn't have liked it because she silenced you. Tell us a bit about sort of creating that nursery in Wagga, and how to attract people through sort of business evolution and those kind of things.
Yep. So like back to sort of something like, you know, I've seen the changes in the industry in the last 15 or so years I've been there. It's probably the phrase, can I speak to the pharmacist? Like, it seems at the moment every second person is after our expertise, which is both demanding, but also fantastic that we're recognised that way. So really quickly, we needed to try and recruit more people to be able to fit that demand. We created a local scholarship system in Wagga here just to try and create, you know, recruit some local people and people outside Wagga to mentor through. And like I picked up on some of the other panelists, we kind of try and fit the sort of our training around the person really on what works best for them. And often we mightn't be doing it until us say, look, what are you passionate about? And we'll see if we can mold something around you. So that the sort of those who are entering the industry at the moment, I think, are in a really fantastic position because they can find a place they want to work, they can find a location they want to work, and really sort of dictate their career path on how they want it to go. So I think, you know, it's a really exciting time to be entering the industry, and like Sarah picked up on, if you're not happy with your job, you really can. The country is your oyster. You can go wherever you want and do whatever you'd like. So the opportunities out there are really amazing. And if you're not happy with what you are in your current job, you'll find another one. Trust me, and you'll be in high demand.
I guess that's so. Looking at that, how, you know, as a early career pharmacist, student, intern, how am I attractive? You know, Catherine, what's going to attract? You know, when you're looking through, what are you looking for, and what advice would you give to first-year students, fourth-year students, you know, interns, in terms of, to Luke's point, chasing their dream? No, you're on mute. Have you been muted externally?
No, I've unmuted myself. It's okay. I've got control. So I think the most important thing for students first year, fourth year is get a job in community pharmacy. I mean, don't wait until your fourth year to get a job in community pharmacy. And if you've got to work in 2 or 3 community pharmacies till you find the one that you really like, the one that you like how it's run, you know, you like the pharmacists that operate it, you like the services that they provide, you should be doing that while you're a student, right? Because why wait until 4 years to realise that this is not the pharmacy that you want to work at as you're doing your graduate year? Do your research and work through that. And the other thing that I'd say, if you find a pharmacy that you really want to work for and someone who you really want to work for them, then absolutely bombard them, because really it's up to you and they will define the way that your future is. I mean, I think about one of my partners that I'm with now, a young woman, and I used to work the Sunday shift, you know, 12-hour days, and it was a slog, right? We were doing 350 scripts by ourselves. You don't have the staff that you usually have. And she used to come in without fail every Sunday and hand me a resume, right? And I had no job for her. And I think on the 6th or 7th time she handed me that resume and just said, look, I just want to work for you. Just let me stand on the floor and serve people. You don't even have to pay me, right? And I think within 3 years she was running the pharmacy, and she was Priceline Pharmacy of the Year that year as well. So she was an absolute cracker, and she was just relentless. And it wasn't that I didn't think she was good. I just, you know, I just didn't have a job available for her. And in the end, I just created one because I just loved her oomph, right? And she ended up absolutely running not that shop, but another shop that we established really close by. And then I think of all my partners, and they've all just had a relentlessness and a persistence in it. And I think that's what I really appreciate more than anything else. The other point is when you're working for somebody, I always, you know, when I'm training students or graduates or partners and owners, I always like to think of them one step ahead. So if I'm training a student, I like to be training a pharmacist, right? And seeing how they're going to fit within the business as a pharmacist. And same with as graduate as a pharmacist and a pharmacist as the owners. I'm always looking for those skill sets that they'll be able to then run a pharmacy as well. And I think that if you're working in a community pharmacy, don't think about just being a student in that pharmacy. Think about how you're going to operate as a graduate in that pharmacy. And as a graduate, always have the mindset and the responsibility and act like you're the pharmacist, because there's actually only 1 day difference. There's 1 day difference until you take that responsibility for a student to a graduate, and from a graduate to a pharmacist, and then from a pharmacist to owner. And trust me, it's your behavior and the way you've acted all before then, and the relationships that you established and that level of authority and that relationship you have with all those staff that are going to set you in high stead on that day you go to sleep and you wake up the next day and you become a graduate, or you go to sleep and you wake up the next day and you become a pharmacist. And it makes a big difference to the way that you are perceived and you operate that store, and also the opportunities that you'll be given.
It's yeah, I mean, leadership doesn't happen overnight, does it? It's not bestowed by title. It comes with behaviour, and it comes with how you engage with people. So we've got a few minutes left. I probably want to close with just what excites you guys about the future of community pharmacy. And at the moment, I mean, I open this saying, what an exciting time. We now have a decade of COVID booster shots. For me, what is most exciting about that is the change in our pharmacy demographics. Anecdotally, and from some of you guys directly, we're hearing that the young and the vaccinated are coming in, you know, people that perhaps we hadn't seen before. And how do we start to harness those and take them on their pharmacy journey, which is, for me, so exciting for interns and young pharmacists, because we have this whole pathway of future patients that have a variety of health needs that see us in community pharmacy as providers of healthcare, and changes the perception. We'll go around the ground. So I'll start with Christy Lee. What excites you about the future direction of community pharmacy?
Well, in short, it's that finally pharmacists are being recognised as primary care health workers. So if I reflect on my career to date from where I started as a student, and I actually worked in a pharmacy before I started becoming a pharmacy student, and I thought this is where I want to be. And back then, it was that community pharmacy, small independent model, and then now there's big banners and discounters and things. But I think if this pandemic's shown us anything, that the pendulum has shifted back to that community independent pharmacy model, where the patient's at the centre and the pharmacist is providing services. There's also been lots of data accumulated from studies, such from the pharmacy trial programs, that demonstrate the value of community pharmacies as primary healthcare workers. And yeah, that really excites me that government bodies are now realising this, and Australians are seeing the importance of this. And we've known it for forever. Pharmacists know this, but we haven't been very good marketers in how we articulate this. So as Catherine was saying, advocating for our role. So that's what excites me is, yeah, services in community pharmacy and being recognised as primary care health workers.
Yeah, cool. And Angus?
Yeah, I think just touching on what Christy said, it's the opportunity to really increase our scope of practice quite quickly. Obviously, we're going to be taking on increased load with vaccinations over the next 5 to 10 years, which is really exciting. Also, there's so many opportunities, whether it be things like sleep apnea or men's health or a variety of other things. We've also got continued dispensing now, so we've got greater autonomy over the patient's health than what we ever had before. So I think going through it is really an exciting time. And touching on what Christy Lee said, I think there is a really big patient shift towards they understand the role we play in their healthcare, and if you can be you can optimize the healthcare and really assist them, then I think that the patient will give back to you as well. So if you look after them, they'll look after you, and I think there's more appreciation of that now than ever, and I think that's an exciting time for us going forward to really boost patient base and develop a more healthcare model going forward.
Yeah, cracking. Sarah?
I was just talking to my business partner last week, and I was just explaining how never has there been so much change in a short period of time in pharmacy. And with that change is become like, it's just so exciting, and I think pharmacy students are really entering their pharmacy career at the right time. There's so much that we're able to do towards practicing to our full scope, like everyone else has said. Really exciting. In regards to the vaccinations, I've noticed we only started vaccinating probably 2.5 weeks ago in Forbes in our pharmacies, and we are seeing people in our community that we've never seen before, which is amazing considering we're a small rural community. So it's so exciting to have all these new patients, and it's exciting that it is a face-to-face service that we're providing. They have to physically come into the pharmacy, and hopefully we're giving them the most a really professional service, and they come and they're impressed, and then they'll come back again. So I think congratulations on your career choice. I don't think you'll regret it, and all the best. I think it's really exciting.
Sorry,
Nice,
Andrew, I'm
Luke.
just going to interrupt.
Yep.
Just interrupt because there is a question in the panel around the cadetship program that Sarah mentioned earlier. Could you just explain what that program is?
Yeah, sure. So we've been offering I think, like what Luke does at South City's Pharmacy, but the Life Pharmacy Group have been offering a cadetship or scholarship program now for, gosh, I think probably 25 years. And what that is you come and work in our pharmacies during your university holidays, and we mentor you through your university degree. Just this week, we're also doing some mock exams with our interns in the group. So I did that with one of the interns that's going to be sitting their oral board exam next week. So we're just mentoring, nurturing. And if there's anyone interested, just go to Life Pharmacy Group and they'll find the information there about our scholarship program, or get in touch with me at Flannery's Pharmacy. I'll be more than happy to talk to you. And
Mel will have that info that she can feed through to you. And I know any of our panelists would be only too happy to engage with anyone online. Luke, quick wrap from you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Sarah, we actually copied that scholarship directly from Life Pharmacy with permission, obviously. Look, just the panelists probably acknowledging, people listening that work in pharmacy at the moment. I just want to acknowledge that it is a really, really brutal period out there. So that needs to be recognised. So if you're a little bit disenchanted and working and saying this is impossible, we're all feeling the same. Like before we opened up, like I think we had 2 people on the panel that were in close contacts, have been in isolation. It is a really tough period, but that's probably a reflection on how necessary we are. And I really do think it will get better as the pandemic sort of becomes more of a normality. But I think what's going to come out of this is, there's 2 things that you're going to see. One is that pharmacy is undeniably the front line of healthcare. You only have to look at the amount of exposure sites that have been listed in the early days. And pharmacy, when people get sick, the first thing they do is come to their pharmacy. So that's something that's going to be unarguable. The second thing is just how important we are in the healthcare system. The vaccination rates are flying now that it's been put through community pharmacy, and it's fantastic that it has. I think the only regret is that New South Wales Health probably wished, and other states which they'd done it earlier. If you look at problem areas in New South Wales at the moment, it's Bourke, Wilcannia, Walgett, those western, far west areas. The only way you're going to reach those areas is through community pharmacy. You can't put a truck out and drive it out west. So we're going to be given more roles, more responsibilities as a result of all this. So what's going to come out is a really exciting career opportunity that we're going to need a workforce to be involved in. So there's fantastic opportunities for you. And, I think it's a really exciting time once all this settles down.
And Kat?
Oh, absolutely what Luke is saying. Pharmacy will become immunisation centres, not just doing COVID vaccines, but we are very quickly within the next couple of years will be the immunisation centres that all Australians come to. And I think what's really important, I've got my little one that's just about to join me, but I think the question that we've got to ask is we know those patients that are coming in, and we also know the major disease states that they're playing, right? And what we've got to ask ourselves is, how do we play a role in community pharmacy to really have a look at what those major disease states are? Blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol. How do we screen them, getting them into healthcare system early? And how do we then also manage these patients? We're seeing more and more pharmacists become diabetes educators. We know we've got asthma educators out there as well. How do we get that remuneration, and how do we best monitor these patients within the community? And this is my daughter, because I'm homeschooling.
Nice one. And I guess adaptability and agility are at the center of a model, as Kat is showing us whilst homeschooling, probably doing a variety of other things. So that brings us to the end of our panel session today. If I wrap very quickly, is it a good time? Well, I think it's probably the best time. That, to be honest with you, is the future of pharmacy is grounded in healthcare. The government now sees pharmacy as a key player in primary health initiatives going forward and has a seat at the table. So healthcare models are grounded in having the best people. Having the best people from a pharmacy perspective means having a highly trained workforce that is passionate, that is capable. And so I guess the advice, if I paraphrase our panelists here today, is become that individual. Find a passion, get a mentor, ask questions, and I guess in a positive way, to take Kat's advice, don't be afraid to stalk. If you see something that it aligns with your values and your passion, don't be afraid to reach out to that individual and say, hey, I'd love to hear what you're doing, how you're doing it. And I know these 5 people on the panel would be only too happy to hear from any of you guys. Contact through Mel. If you do have any other questions, feel free to shoot them through after. I know you'll join me from all around the country thanking from my top left, Luke, Sarah, Kat, Christy, Lee and Angus, and also Mel for putting this together, because I think I'm pretty inspired. And I guess thank you to all of them for the hard work you're doing. I know how hard it is out there, and thank you so much. So good stuff. Back to you, Mel.
Thanks, Andrew. And I would just say the same thing. Thanks to everybody. We gathered a panel of experts for everybody today. So thanks so much for your time. just picking up on something that Christy Lee said around the leadership and management stuff that may be lacking in your university degrees. Stay on board for in 10 minutes. We have a leadership session with leading teams. Later on, we also have a session around pathways to ownership, picking up on what Kat said around get into ownership early. So come to those ones. And the final session today is around your first year out from being a registered pharmacist, what to expect. It's a bit different from being an intern. So at 11 o'clock, we'll have that leadership session. But thanks again to everybody. I think that was a really great session, and we'll catch up again soon. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good job, all.